you. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of the Warehouse Arts District Association, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. We have Rhea Nurmi. Rhea is an Eckerd College OLLI art instructor, which OLLI stands for Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and painter who has produced and exhibited artwork in St. Petersburg since 1987. And my name is Susan Antoinette, and I am a WADA board member and the chair of the education committee. And Anna Broshears is also on our call tonight, and she is our co-chair. And on behalf of WADA and our entire education committee, we are happy to bring you tonight's program as one of our member benefits. So I'd like to introduce you to Rhea Nurmi. Rhea is a painter who has produced and exhibited artwork since 1987 and divides her time between Helsinki, Finland and St. Petersburg, Florida. Rhea has a unique gift for opening new horizons through art to those whose lives are restricted. Her large works of gardens and other nature scenes relax both staff and patients. Her intention is to bring color and light into the world and take the art where it is most needed. Rhea paints alone or in collaboration with hospital staff, patients, and residents. The first mural was done at the MRI unit at Yale New Hampshire Hospital in Connecticut. Others are in several cities in Europe and many in her native Finland, and also locally in Florida. In her own paintings, she prefers pastel mediums, and the subjects are varied. She frequently lectures about her work and teaches at the OLLI program, as I mentioned before, at Eckerd College. And her Healing Walls book presents projects and various environments and explains the humanizing aspect of colorful art in hospitals and institutions. Okay, so let's get started. WADA presents Healing Walls with Rhea Nurmi. So Rhea, you can go ahead and share your screen, and we will focus on Rhea.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I've been in St. Petersburg only 10 years because I lived in Connecticut before that for many years. And I started doing artwork because I was doing electromechanical design in engineering firms for 15 years. And then all of a sudden I said to myself that there's gotta be more to life than straight black lines. And I literally walked out of there and said, there's gotta be something else. So I traveled a little bit and then returned back home. And something inside of me told that I should do artwork. And this is what happened. I'm here to show what happened because I've been doing this now for about 30 years. And I specialized something like every other, for example, doctor specifies. There's a nose and throat doctor, and there's a knee doctor and eye doctor and all of that. And then I said, why not art? We can specialize. So what happened to me, I love flowers, and I painted lots of flowers because I had my realistic background doing technical work. So I work very realistically. And also my name is REA. If people ask, is it short of something? I always say it's short of reality. But then it's actually a very different name. It's originally Greek name. And why I have it being in Finland, I don't know. But also it's very easy name to work with because many Finnish names are very long. And REA is actually very easy. So I'm talking mainly about the healing walls. And when you go to hospital, you would like to bring your friends or relatives or elderly grandparents flowers. But many hospitals don't let you bring them in because of whatever reason. And then what you really would like to do is grab the people out of the hospital and take them to the flower fields somewhere or anywhere in the nature, but you can't do that either. So then the other option is to bring artwork to the hospitals, but then my work is in pastel and you would have glass on it and it shines and you can see it as well. For example, in a nursing homes, if you have glass covered artwork, it's hard to see. If you're sitting in a wheelchair or people running around like busy nurses. So what happened to me, I was teaching children in the 90s when nobody was buying artwork. I said, I have to do something else. So I realized that many artists are teaching to supplement their income. But I said, where on earth am I going to teach? Because I never taught anything. And somebody said, why don't you volunteer somewhere? So what I had a chance to go to Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven, Yale University Hospital, and I was working with children at their bedside once a week. And then there was instead of just walking in there, say, and said, I'm some kind of lady who just paints with kids, I showed my portfolio to them. And one of the nurses said, when I had been there a couple months, once a week, they said, why wouldn't you paint a wall for us? Because it would be so nice to have something pretty to watch while they're there. And this is the place that they gave me. And I said, you call this a wall? It had a door on it. And I said to myself, this is 2 flights below the street level in a basement in Yale University Hospital. And she said, yes, many kids in our floor go here and it's open 24 hours. And then I said to myself, I'm going to run out of here. I've never painted a wall in my life, except maybe patching some holes in a wall at home as a teenager, you know, trying to be against my parents. But anyway, I said to myself, if Yale asks me, am I going to say no? It's one of the most famous hospitals in the world. And I said, yes, I'm going to paint a wall, but I had no idea what to do or how to do it. But then I walked around in Connecticut at the beach in my hometown, Milford there. And then I came up with the idea because I had worked one time with a sick, because there was nobody was in the ward that I normally went. And they sent me to the cancer ward. And there are these kids, bald and very sick, but yet they are playing around like nothing happened. And they were drawing with me and having just happy kids as they were. And I said, if these kids could work and enjoy life, my only problem is the door in this wall. And if you are against the wall, literally like I was, I said, I have a choice. I can take the wall, leave, or then paint over the door. So what happened, I did this. I took the door along, and what I couldn't get rid of, I put it on a stick. It's a radiation sign that has to be on that wall. And this is what happened. I just kept on painting, and I also painted the other wall on the side here where there is a bed waiting to go in. But this was magical in a sense because this door was open 24 hours and I kept my paintings on plastic and I pulled them out of the way when somebody was wheeling a patient in, and then they had to knock when they were inside coming out so they didn't knock my paints down. So it was like a dance. And then people were sort of oohing and ahhing because anything that I put on that wall was helping. Because
it's fabulous.
this is what happened. See, I say art is magic sometimes because you are against the wall and you have no idea what you're doing, but you have such a chance that something happens inside of you. But also, I wasn't an artist, but then when I did this, I said, I am an artist. I have painted at Yale. Most people spent a lot of money to be at Yale. This was I was a volunteer there, so I donated my time for this. But what happens, you all know that when you give, you get. So what happened, because of this wall, I got a commission. And this is also in Connecticut. It is a place where every kid is in a wheelchair. They come to school to this place and then they go home at night. And this is their cafeteria. and everybody was a CP patient. And you know how they are. Their muscles are so tight that they can't even feed themselves. So during lunch, they had feeders that fed these children with tubes. So the eating time takes over 2 hours. So they had to do it in this kind of place. So artist gets to work. It's not glamour work, as you know. We are kneeling and painting and wondering what on earth are we going to do. So I took over all the places. This top area there was all silver, and I painted it over with a base paint and then with blue, and added clouds and birds in there. And on the bottom with the food area here, the kids who are low in the wheelchairs, they can see the
Ray,
birds.
I love how you did it's like under the sea down below.
Yes,
And
and
everything
here
else is
is a blank wall next to the area. This is where the fish are right here, and the sky was here. Boring walls here. But I made it a garden. I mean, here, this is the one. And when I left the drafting and design, electromechanical design, I swore that I never do straight lines again. But this is the exception. I just painted white. I mean, on this white wall, I painted black lines, so it's a fence. And this was such a huge area. I don't know how big it was, but when I look at my tiny little hands and I'm doing this, and I said, why am I doing this alone? This is nuts. So because of this area, I actually said to myself that I have to start working with other people. But while I was still here, instead of painting kids on the wheelchairs, which I couldn't as a woman, as a human being do, I decided to take the children out of the wheelchairs, make believe that they are swimming behind the dune over there, or they are sailing with the little sailboats, and also they could be flying up in hot air balloons. And somebody gave this wheelchair to me when they heard that I was painting. And I said, I'd like to have that wheelchair. And I left it in the middle of the floor there. And I put a note on it, gift from the artist. So this one is in Finland. Just a sample of the boring wall where all the X-ray nurses have to work in a dark, dimly lit room. And I added a window in this particular place, but no details there because they couldn't see them, but everybody can see this is a window. And here's another place in a nursing home as well. This was a place where I got a commission if I painted with the patients. And I said to myself, this is what I wanted, to start working with somebody else. But of course, it would be easier to work with the trained people or somebody that I have taught. But here I got patients to work with me. And I said, well, you get what you ask. And I put these patients to work. Because this one woman was hanging around when I was painting. And because of her wheels, I couldn't hear her. You know, I'm a tall person and I was quickly walking around, and every time I turn around, there's this wheelchair. I almost tumbled over her and I wanted to tell her, get lost. But of course, she wanted to watch and she was curious. So then I realized I can't get rid of her. I have to include her. And I said, why don't you paint flowers here? I just showed her this. And then the next day she brought a friend along. And the result is this. 2 flower baskets, and I just painted legs on them, so they are baskets. But what they are is metal vent holes. And also this place had been renovated, but this is the elevator hall that had not been renovated. So I actually improved 3 floors of the elevator halls in this hospital. And I learned to work with people. You just give them a bucket of paint and said, put some color in here. And like these two, they are different, but who cares? It still improves the world. And then life goes on, and I heard that there is an operation that actually is called Health Providing Hospitals Organization. Their idea is to explain to people that hospitals are not morgues. People go there to get better, and they better look better. So why do they look so boring? So I have lectured in a big world conferences about meaning of art, power of art in health facilities. And every time I am somewhere talking, I say, why don't you find me a wall where I can leave something behind? So this was in Slovakia, in Bratislava, and I was in a ward where there were tiny baby babies there. And this other one is in Prague. This is a doctor who saw me in Slovakia, and when she heard what I was doing, she said to me, I do anything to get you to paint in my hospitals, in her hospital. So the following year, she invited me to come to Prague, and these are nurses that are painting with her and me. We are working in a heart unit where there were many elderly men who had had heart attacks, and then this is the area where they had the food area. Tables were just moved out, and we were making the things happen there. And then, of course, Florence is a city of culture, and all the famous artists have been there. So then one year I found myself in Florence because there was a big conference there. And I talked about the healing walls there. And then I was giving the wall and hallway at the children's hospital there, and many volunteers. So I had a whole group of people working with me in the morning. And then miraculously, they disappeared at the lunchtime. And there I was working the whole thing because they had dabbled in all the other walls here. So I had to practically kill myself to get this finished in a few days that I was there. But what interesting thing happened here, I had this young boy. I don't speak Italian, so there was this little Italian boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, and he was a patient, and he was eagerly working with me, but he was the only one who showed up after lunch. When I realized that I don't have any helpers, I told him that I don't like him to be part of it. I gave him pencils and paper and colored pencils on the table, and he could do that. He absolutely refused. And he had a fit that he couldn't paint with me. Finally, there was somebody who went by and knew English. I said, could you explain to this boy that, I can't guide him alone if nobody else is with me, and explain to him that, Rhea has to paint alone this time. And they actually calmed him down and let him go somewhere else where he was happy. But I absolutely understood him. If he was able to work on the big projects, why start just coloring pictures in a little paper? We all understand that when you get a taste of something big, you want to continue. And then this one is in Finland. I was asked to go there because supposedly the morale in this nursing home was very bad with the staff. And the director had heard about my work and said, maybe if you work with the staff, things would happen. So when I went there early in the morning, everybody was sitting with their arms crossed. All the nurses were asked to be in a meeting that morning, even the ones who were on vacation. So they were furious that they had to meet somebody from America because they thought it was some American woman or artist who doesn't even speak Finnish. But when they realized that it was me, the arms sort of opened up, and then I showed them pictures what I've done and why I'm invited there to improve their environment. And I said, let's go see where your dressing rooms are. So I said, let's just put a window right there because you don't have anything there. You have to work in the basement when you change your clothes. And many nurses, of course, are of the time when they have young children and they could have sick parents. So they are called the sandwich generation. And also the work that they do, taking care of the elderly, is not fun. So while in that basement, we did that work.
Well, hello, James.
And then
Good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
they had,
Excuse me, Jay, could you please mute yourself? Thank you very much.
and they also, this was the basement area where they go upstairs. So the end of the hall, I added this little porthole because there was such humming. Other side, they had washing machines, and other side of the hallway, they had the oil, whatever, the heating pumps over there. So I said, you are like in a submarine, so why don't we make it look like a submarine? So this is in the hall, end of the hall. But the funny part was this, I said, how do I get that hall? How can I make it round? So I sent somebody to get some tools that I can draw the circle there, perfect circle. But before somebody came down with any tools or measuring devices, I saw two women, they had picked up a table that was round, and one was holding it against the wall and other one was marking it with a pen. So they were immediately part of the deal, and they painted that huge circle and went on. This is upstairs in the nursing area with where they have the meals. So tiny little designs up there, and this one is a tapestry. But when the elderly are taking naps during the day, so I had the nurses jumping on the tables and painting. I'm there in the pink, just guiding. Okay, a little bit on the left, keep painting. So the next picture shows how this area calmed down. We took the tapestry down. We added a little bit of sky up here, beautiful arch here, worthless, but it looks beautiful when it's blue. And this black hole over here is a fireplace that no one uses. But doing this work, I have realized that there's a problem in every wall, but you just have to let it be there. And we filled it up with silk flowers. And then I also work in other places. I had a show in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. There was a man who had a gallery, and I had a gallery show there. And after the opening, it was a private gallery, and in his house, a big, huge house. And he said, thank you, Rhea, for the wonderful opportunity to present your work, and that you came down here. And I signed your name on the program tomorrow at the prison. I said, look, I haven't done anything. Why am I sent to prison? And he said, no. I am going to youth detention center. And because he was doing poetry, because they have an art slam there. Some big company, actually some medical company, sponsored an art slam in a youth detention center. And he was doing poetry, and he had signed me to do artwork over there. So there we are, Albuquerque, New Mexico, youth detention center. And instead of telling you about this wall, I explained that I was working with young teenagers there. I had big sheets of paper and color markers, and we were supposed to draw anything, whatever we wanted. And then in the morning, and at lunchtime present what they have done. And there would have been music programs and poetry and some theater that same day. So we had a wonderful afternoon show with all those events, and my boys showed their work there. But while I was working with the young gentlemen who were very eager to work, I asked them that I like to volunteer to do a wall in this place because I'm a painter. If I get a okay to paint a mural in this place, would you help me? And what would we paint? So everyone at the same time, they said, nature, blue sky, mountains and trees and flowers. I said, isn't that something? Because that's what I paint anyway in the murals when I'm painting in the hospitals or in this type of place. Of course, I've never been in a youth detention center before, but I presented that idea for the director. And I got an okay. And I said to them that I'm leaving in 3 days, so make a decision, yes or no. And this is a one-time chance, because I'm sure you're not going to find money for this. But while I'm here, I would like to do that. And this is what happened. I got this wall at the cafeteria, and notice they do have windows, but they are way up on top. The light comes in, but nobody can see out because it is a detention center. So I worked with these young men. First, they wanted to do New Mexico mountains. And I said, I don't know how they look. So why don't you draw the line first, and then I show you how to paint. So we did that. And then the blue sky is there and the clouds. And then I showed them how to do, I have several pictures of this, and I could have the whole talk what happened in this unit as well. But there they are, just dabbing in flowers. And interesting part here is they put their names on the left corner here. And one boy, young man, they are in their teenage, maybe 16, 17. One boy went back there and did it again with a different color, his name. And I said, that's very nice. And he said, yes, I'd like to do this right because I'm going to be here a very long time. And when I mentioned his name to the director later, they said, yes, he's here for murder. So he knew that. But then one of the other men, young men, looked at me, baby-faced young man, looked at me and said, thank you so much for teaching me this. Now I can do this with my daughter. I just couldn't believe that this young man would have a daughter. And I was gasping for air. Instead of mocking him, I just said, wow, how old is your daughter? And he said, 6 months, and you believe it's terrible to be in here. And I said, you know what? Instead of, when you get out of here, it's wonderful that you now know how to do this and wouldn't be afraid to touch the wall with paint brushes. But I recommend that you take some big board, wood board or something and paint, and you can actually paint with your daughter that way. And then when you move to a new, bigger place, you can take that work with you. And he was so pleased. And I said, you could also paint furniture and make it pretty for your little girl when you get out. So I believe that little tidbit helps him to go forward, to have something to dream on.
Rhea, can I ask you a question about?
Yes, go ahead.
Did you have the same 4 gentlemen helping you, or did
Yes.
they?
For 2 afternoons, 2 afternoons.
Wow.
The ones, I think I had 6 people in that first session where we were drawing, and then 4 came to this. And I could have painted the whole wall, but I figured time-wise, I had 2 afternoons, and then I didn't, the gallery donated the paints. And it's all math in a way, this artwork.
Right.
Because people say art is not worth anything, but you can teach many things with art. For example, in this case, I showed the boys that I had this much light blue. So this will demand how big area we can do. So I said, we'll start in the middle and we'll see how far the blue lasts. That's how big it's going to be, because I had more of the other colors. So I call my works walls, but this one was the first little one that I did, and I call this a window of opportunity.
You were teaching them problem solving skills too.
Many ways, yes.
Yes.
But what was interesting too is that there were two guards that were sitting further away, and instead of talking loudly to these kids that the guards could hear what I say, I actually whispered when I talked to the boys. And sometimes I looked behind me and I saw the guards just with their mouths gaping down, that they just couldn't believe what was happening, because they didn't hear how I was guiding them. And you can see in this picture, we actually put flying birds up there. When we were all done, I said to the boys, let's add some birds flying so they can send messages out of here in your behalf. And they looked at me and said, we can't do birds. I said, look, yesterday you said you can't do this, and look what you've done. So let me show you. So we put some wings up there. You can't
Yeah,
see.
I have a question also. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go on, that's fine.
Do you run a plumb line? Are all your walls square? Because I find that, like on my old house, if I try to do a mural on a wall, and they're not square, so you don't want your window to look crooked, your picture window to look crooked.
Yes, if it was this, you would do the plumb lines. Yes,
Okay.
for that reason. Here,
Okay.
I didn't do it. It's just I measured it. This was brick wall. You can count the bricks in there. Cinder blocks.
Oh, cinder block. Okay.
In this one, so it was easy.
Okay.
Yeah, in this one. So it's interesting to work with the sick or the lame or people who are locked up.
Yeah.
But what I do in my own work, I do a lot of underwater scenes. And they've gone in many places. And this one is a place where the artist looks very good too. Because I get very skinny here, and artwork, my children get much bigger. This one is at the
So funny. I love it.
this one is a Veterans Hospital therapy pool, where actually it's a small place in Pori, is famous for the jazz festival. It's a well-known festival in Pori, jazz in Finland, the west coast. But it's in this nursing facility, but from the city, other people come to this big pool also. So it's open to and this is painted on panels, 2 wooden panels. There are 2 panels, you can see it here, of course, because it's taken from the distance. Because again, why do the tiles have to be white? They could be any color or many colors, but white tiles. And then they just screwed a hole in there to get that board to fit in there. But I think it's a good addition for the therapy pool, especially in Finland when it's white all winter with lots of snow and cold. So this brings them some warmth. This is upstairs in the same place. Why I was called there is because on the right here, they actually did a memory room where they had collected all kinds of old stuff, farm tools and different materials and old-fashioned radios or whatever. And in the memory unit, the nurses were guiding the residents to go there and pick up something and said, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so. And something, whatever happened in the farm. So they were documenting these kind of events. But what they needed was the outdoor, the yard thing. So I did this kind of thing. And we took in the pillars as well. And also the elderly and the nurses were working with me on this. But I was there for several days. And here, I'm not just bragging, but I show you that you could actually straighten corners with art. If you didn't see this top area here, you would think this is not a corner because it's an optical illusion in a way. And
That's
then
really impressive how you've done that.
yeah,
That's
and
great.
but see, it's like magic. You just keep blotting the color in there and things happen.
Yeah, it's very cool.
This happened in my second wall when I was working in that first place with where every kid was in a wheelchair, because you remember that picture where I was on my knees and just blue sky there, and turn in the corner. What should I do? And there I realized I put sailboats in a corner, and that eliminated that corner. So here this happened as well, because I said I have to put something in a corner that sort of brings it out so it doesn't go into the corner. So this worked gently, because also it had to be calm, because this is a memory unit. I couldn't make underwater scene here. They would have all gone crazy, nurses included. You know, you can paint, so that's why, you know, somebody could say my work is sort of blah because it's nature, but you have to think where it is. We can't put abstract things or very hard colors in hospitals. If I put red plashes on the wall, people think it's blood. So you have to think of nature and the healing aspect of this. That's why I call it healing walls, because I at least heal the walls, because many of them have holes. I patch them up first and then put color on it. And this is also, it's very public work. These people were sitting here and singing for me all afternoon. And also I have all kinds of questions asked from me while I'm painting. First of all, when I start, also if we are in a nursing home, people are so set in their ways and they are tired of change, because many elderly are ripped out of their homes and forced to go someplace, and they are sick and tired, you know, in some places, and some places here, of course, and many other places, people go voluntarily and enjoy the places in assisted living places. So there's many facets of this type of place. But what happens is when I go the first day, I set everything up and then I start from the blue and then I leave it because I will continue in the morning. So when I come back, people will say, what are you messing up over here? Some people are just screaming at me like, what the heck? So these kind of things. And some people are enjoying it and they start looking at it, and or they tell me their life stories. Anything could happen. One time I was working, just finishing the work in a hospital hallway, and I had talked all day with somebody, many people walking by, and then I realized I really have to hurry up to get this done, because I was going to dinner with the head of the hospital that night, and I said, I'm gonna get this finished and then I can say that I'm done and leave the following day. So I decided I'm not going to turn around and say anything to anybody. So I started painting, and all of a sudden I hear steps behind me. Then the steps stop. And the older man said, can you do that here? I was cracking up. And I said nothing right away. But then I said, I don't know, I haven't asked. And he was absolutely stunned. I didn't turn around, so I have to this day don't know who it was. And then the steps continued. And I was cracking up, but I got that done. And then I went to dinner that evening, and the doctor asked, so how was it today? I said, oh, it was wonderful. And I told about this man. And she said, that's hysterical. And then they actually interviewed me. So there's an article in the paper the following day. I mean, the following day there was an interview, and then I left. But the doctor sent me the interview, I mean, the article, and they had mentioned there about this man. And I said, I wonder how this man feels when he reads about himself in the paper. but I was long gone by then. But then here are just simple pastel paintings that I've done, colorful things. And I'm showing this area because sometimes in Connecticut, I paint near the water. And this is a particular artwork that I worked outside in a patio. And I remember being dressed up in a bathing suit, and then I just walked. Every 2 hours, I went swimming at the beach and then came back. But then, you know, we know, you as an artist know that your artwork sort of has its own life. I heard that these fish said to me, I want to go swimming too. We want to go back to the water. So what I did is I took the fish to the water. I danced with them on the whole canvas, took them to the beach.
So Rhea, that was just raw canvas that you laid out?
Yeah, raw canvas. Well, it's there's already not raw canvas,
Well,
but
gessoed, yeah. sorry.
gessoed canvas and painted on. So sometimes I do these, they are rolled up murals. So they are easy to transport. You just roll them up and bang them on the walls, whoever wants them.
Very cool.
You can also frame them, stretch them later, but this is a very long one. And here's another rolled out one. Sometimes you can take the forest and paint that. This is in Finland, but I think these look like Florida leaves. See, I'm affected by my surroundings, no matter where I am. And so this is a forest, but then what happens that the forest comes in. This is another nursing home in Helsinki, and they wanted trees. And when I had this one tree here, it's an entranceway to the nursing home. And they said, why don't you put something in there? So I put apples on that tree to add some color. But you know, there's a saying that apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, but that's not true. I can prove it right here. Because my apple, this apple, is at Kennedy Airport. In New York, there was an apple show. This is a large one, 4 feet high and 4 feet wide. They had 200 apples that we could paint, the artist painted them. You heard about the cow projects, the huge full-size cows. Cow
Yeah.
parade, it's
Yes.
called. And then here we have those dolphins or whatever, that they're public art things. So I don't know where my cows have ended up, and that's another talk if I ever give it here. But this one ended up at Kennedy Airport. So I still think it's a healing there. It's healing the travelers who are in their own time zones and those poor people who have to work at the airport. Certainly they get free flight tickets to wherever they're going when they work at the airport, but they are stuck in there, in the places we wouldn't like to be. And then we have local areas. This is Aging Well Doctor's Office at Central Avenue. You know, many of you probably have painted murals in downtown St. Petersburg, but this is the only one that's north of 34th Street. This is at the 43rd Street. And this one is inside at the Suncoast Center in Clearwater. It's a full wall in the area where the Suncoast Center is the facility that's also in Central Avenue, but the other one is at the Clearwater, where the people who are going for treatments after domestic violence or sexual issues or whatever. So the cops bring people here, and this is the waiting area. They would be where they are checked after rape or whatever. Or there are kids who are beaten up, tiny babies with broken arms are brought in there. So this is the waiting area, they wait till get in. So they said, don't do anything drastic. Again, I figured I gave them hope with distance. Because nature is the one thing that heals in the terrible areas in life. And they actually showed me the whole place and what they do there. And I was just like, my God, those people are saints who work, and what they hear, and how many women don't press starches. They go there many times.
We
After-
we do an art exhibition with them.
That's
year
right.
is our second annual that
Yes,
we provide a location for them to do an art show.
that's right.
Do their their art therapy sessions.
That's right. Yes, and this is that wonderful people there, social workers, and
We're lucky to get to work with them.
I didn't ask them to help me because they were busy doing the important work. But they peaked when I was working on this, and several clients came in, from the streets, and the police looked at this and said, "Boy, is that an improvement in their lives as well?" And this one is local, very close to me here at the corner of 31st and 54th Avenue South, Pinellas Point Nursing Home. And I believe this lady, this is her son, who sometimes it's too hot in Florida, so the son must have said, I'll take you out, but they just came to this area where they can see the colors, and seeing what she has on here on her blanket, I bet she enjoyed the color. So then I could talk till I'm blue on the face, but this is what I paint on my own work. This is a pastel with freedom and movement and all of that. And what I say in the end is that sky's the limit with art. We can take it to so many corners and in so many ways, and all in our own way.
Rhea, that was so wonderful for you to share with us about your murals and the locations, the stories behind them. It was fascinating to listen to. I appreciate that. Can you share with us, with our group, a little bit more about becoming, or a bit about becoming an OLLI instructor?
What they want is anybody who knows anything about any subject, and they can propose that, write up a little, short, what is it about? Not the whole story, but a little bit. And then the next one, the fall session, meaning that the next session is for the springtime. It starts in July, so you can't get into that one yet, but there might be openings. What do I know? But the August 2nd, by August 2nd, you should have to send in the proposals, and then they tell you if you get in or when your classes will be. You can talk for 1 hour about subject like I did this, and then, or you can teach a class or whatever subject, as I wrote to Suzanne, that there was one man who was teaching fly fishing. Mm-hmm. But the OLLI program is for people who are retired, so they are only doing the daytime. So not everybody can teach. If they are working full time, they can't teach during the day.
Okay, so there are daytime class opportunities, and you can do things such as in 1 hour talk or teach a session.
Yes, I have done 10-week sessions of pastels, or then I painted acrylics and whatever, different things. Could be a different type of art that any of you do, particularly people are interested. Or you can talk about your trips or whatever. There's many, many subjects. You can talk about old houses and how hard it is to fix them and make them beautiful. Because I'm sure there's many of them who own those houses.
Yes, there are. There probably are.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to ask you also, have you ever thought about the hospitals and these institutions? Do they approach you or do you approach them, Rhea?
They are actually very political, mm-hmm. like any things are, as you know, about artwork. Mm-hmm. So I have always gone in the back door. Mm-hmm. Somebody has, like I told you that the doctor in Slovakia met me and said, I'll do the work to get you in. So it was from the inside.
Mhm.
And then also notice I didn't do any entrance halls. I'm somewhere in the back, wherever it is, because I believe it's more important if my work is somewhere where a woman finds out that she has breast cancer. She needs to look at something pretty instead of saying, oh my God, or whatever. I'm myself a cancer survivor, so I know how that feels. But the thing is that this work needs to be where the pain is. We are not supposed to be in the front runners and look, I did this. I'm bragging here maybe, but I'm also showing what importance the work is doing wherever it is.
You know, I was in medicine for 30, I'm retired now, for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a hospital up north, they had, because it's difficult to paint on a ceiling, especially in hospital settings, because they're panels, you know,
Yes.
but they would take artwork because you're laying on a table.
Many
and you're
times,
like,
yes.
So they put the art on the ceiling.
Yes, many dentists have done
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And now they have different materials that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be something that doesn't collect dust. Like people ask, how do you clean this? I said, how many times have you washed this wall? And how many times you washed walls at your living room? Never.
So what kind, do you use acrylic paints or do you
Regular
use
wall paint. Regular wall paint.
acrylic?
And, you know, I say, you might wonder how fast I paint. I have to, because it's very liquid. So I have trained myself to work very fast.
Mhm.
See, I don't squeeze tubes and then the stuff stays there and I move it around. I have no time for that. I have big brushes and you just slap it on and you do rollers for the sky.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm married now 4 years here in Florida. And I said to my husband, it's a good thing that you're a tall man because my sky men are always tall. And now I don't have to hire a sky man. I have one at home. So we have done several walls together and he is very proud to be my sky man.
Oh,
Of course, I can do that too, but you know, it's so simple. Anybody can do the sky and then I'd add the doodads on it.
My husband's my plumb line guy.
Oh, see, this is any neighbor doesn't have to be married to have somebody you just grab along and they help you.
To help you. Yeah, right, right. Well, I found this fascinating and it's wonderful. And your work is it's moving and it's important,
Mhm.
especially in children's hospitals and nursing homes.
But
You know,
also, children's
cancer
hospitals
wards. Right.
have more art. They have too much of it because children have their parents, they have their grandparents, they have their godmothers, and
Mhm.
everybody brings stuff to the children's hospital. They're full of color.
Mhm.
And then they have their own toys. But
Mhm.
it's the other side
Mhm.
that doesn't have the color. They're forgotten.
Right.
And of course, you know, I'm already over 65, so I'm on that old group already. But of course, artists never get old. You know, we get better like the wine, and
I
women
don't
get better too. And
I don't know what elderly means anymore, Rhea. I
No.
don't know what that means.
No, but I mean, there are people in their 90s and 100 in those units, and they
Right.
need the color.
Yeah.
They need the color.
Especially in Alzheimer's. My father had Alzheimer's for
Yes.
10 years.
Yes.
And color would have been good for him. You know, if there would have been, it was very clinical. You know how they look.
Yeah, do. I know how they look.
It's very clinical. And you know, but I wouldn't even begin to know how to approach institutions like, let me paint your wall.
Yeah. Also, you can say that and try, but then nobody can decide. No
Right.
one will decide because they are all afraid of their jobs.
Right.
So
Right.
many times I'm almost there that do I get it okay or not? And I said, who do I still have to ask?
Right.
And they say the big boss. I said, what's his name? Because I have nothing to lose. I don't have the job to begin with. I
Right.
have nothing to lose. I
Right.
might be unemployed at that time anyway. So I said, what's his name? And then I called the secretary and I like to make an appointment. And then I have met the hospital directors 1-to-1. And then they said, how can I help you? I said, I have only one question, because I know you're a very busy man always. I have one question. When somebody paints the basement floor, do they come here to ask if it can be painted? No, is the answer. I said, I am painting the basement wall. Can I paint it? He says, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 3 nurses on the same floor behind the door waiting for me, wringing their hands. What did he say? I said, he said yes.
So Rhea, is it a good summary to say that to go right to the top to get the decision
Because
made?
others don't, they can't give it to you.
Right.
They can't, they won't. They're afraid of they're afraid of their jobs. If you worked in hospitals, you know how hierarchy it is.
Right.
That's great advice.
They say it's worse than army, which we know is hierarchy.
Right.
But the thing is, you can also give something. You can paint something. Just, one of those walls I did at night when I was visiting somebody. I took 2 buckets of paint with me, and I said, the one in the X-ray, one of them where I just painted the wall. I said, I'm out of here. I left it as a gift. Didn't sign it either. I was building my resume that I have something in that hospital too. It's there.
Well, thank you for sharing with me. I found it fascinating.
And then my book looks like this, and it has stories of more stories, and also other things about life, because when I did the book, they said you have to add your life stories in there too. And I said, why? Who would read that? And they said, everyone. Because art itself, even the publisher said, art itself is not enough. You have to add. But then all of us who are artists, we know we are our art.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm not a writer.
Matters.
But I wrote what happened, and then happened, and this and this. I just wrote like what happened. Started from the beginning and got to the point. I moved to Florida.
Hi, Rhea. My name is Sumitra.
Yes.
And I have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
One was, have you ever been requested to paint something specific, or like you kind of present your idea to them? And the second question is, was there like a big difference between a hospital in Finland and a hospital here? And
No,
did you find
same thing. Same thing
Okay.
with hospitals in other countries as well.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, and they're ugly inside.
Right.
New ones, they make differences, but
Right.
it's about glass walls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Architects are very proud that they made something, and it's not even functional, but they got the money to do that design, and it's
Right.
not always the best for the nurses or for the patients.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, people can ask me something specific, and I could do that. But sometimes, in my case, it's been easier just to do the nature, because I'm known for the nature thing.
Right.
And
Right.
not too many details, because people are running around in hallways. They don't have time to look at the details.
Mm-hmm.
I will add something funny. I worked, in Madison, and I was in a children's hospital working with kids with cancer. And someone came in and did a mural of a jungle, jungle animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so when parents would stop and say, how do you get to CT? I said, we go left at the elephant and right at the snake.
That
And
too.
everybody knew where it was.
Yes.
Then a big elephant, you just look for the elephant, and then you turn, and then you see the snake, and you turn.
And if you go to some tests in many hospitals, there's nothing to guide you along.
Right.
You can also paint something on the floor. So we can do the ceilings and the floors or whatever. Any color dot will do improvements. Any tiny thing. There's somebody in town here. I saw an article about a man, I think he's in 70s or maybe even 80s. He paints these little plaques that says happiness and nails them on telephone poles. That's his way of adding the beauty to the world with words.
I have seen those throughout St. Pete.
Yeah, it's a one man who's doing it.
Ah, very, very interesting to
He
learn.
goes at nights with the ladder and knocks them. Because there was an article about it, maybe others are doing that too, but that's lifting everybody's
Yes, yes, very much so.
energy.
Oh, wonderful. Do we
Yes.
have any other questions?
Yes,
Anybody?
you can call me too. I'm a local person. So if something comes up to you, or email me, reanurmi. gmail.com.
reanurmi@gmail.com. Well,
Mhm.
perfect. Perfect.
Yes, and I
Okay.
like to meet you other artists as well because.
Good. Well, we on I was going to talk about our upcoming events that we have. Before I get there, Rhea, we really want to thank you so much for this evening. It's been wonderful to learn about your work, the motivation behind your work, and the different stories about the pieces. It's just been a great evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to share that with our WADA members. We will be sharing this recording for tonight's event on our WADA webpage. We have an education tab.
Okay.
And so on the WADA webpage, there's an education tab that you can access all of our past recorded events as well. And we're hoping that tonight is our last Zoom. We're hoping to only last Zoom only event. We're hoping to get back into person. We are all ready and vaccinated and ready to go for that. So also you can learn about our upcoming events in the WADA Digest and our different WADA Network Facebook pages. We have a WADA Network Facebook page and then the website itself. So our next event is coming up on June 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Okay. We have, there's a collaboration with the James Museum and the Dr. Carter G. Woodson Museum for a Juneteenth exhibition. And they are partnering for this summer's titled Reverberations. Reverberations shares artwork from emerging and establishing artists, Black artists, who live and work in Tampa Bay and across the southeastern United States. Through each artist's own perspective, the exhibition will challenge viewers with stories of structural racism and oppression, as well as celebrate hope and resilience. So we also invite you to come for second Saturday. Every second Saturday, there is an art walk throughout St. Petersburg. We encourage you to come to the Warehouse Arts District. We have numerous artists throughout the district and studios and gallery spaces, and we all strive to be open between 5 and 9, and lots of events going on in those different spaces. We actually have two new shows going on at our Arts Exchange campus that's within the Warehouse Arts District. And we have, one of them is called Just Breathe. It's a collaboration with 3 artists. It's Tom Amadon, myself, and Nikki Devereaux.
Okay.
The other show is called About Face. And so 2 great new shows that are coming in. So come take a look at those. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this evening's presentation and are not a member, please consider a donation or becoming a member. We invite you to do that. And you can do that through our Warehouse Arts District stpete.org webpage.